like this, or different costs with different activities. So to determine the fixed cost, we'll have to draw a line between the points, and this will be the fixed cost. Let's say fixed cost 2,000. Now, to determine the variable cost of one activity, let's take one activity which is 100,000, and it has, let's say, 4,000, which is the utility cost. Now, to determine the variable cost, we'll have to 4,000, which is the utility cost, minus the 2,000, which is the fixed cost, which is already for all activities. By this, we'll get our variable cost of 2,000. Now, to get the cost per the variable cost per unit, we'll have to divide the activities, which is 100,000, divided by the variable cost, which has been determined by 2,000. This will give us 50, I think, right? Yeah. 50. So this is the variable cost per unit. So by using this method, we can determine the semi-variable cost, which includes the fixed and variable cost.
Another method is a high and low method. In this method, the semi-variable cost approximation is computed using two data values. So, and another thing I would like to say, the high and low method help to compute for variable cost and fixed cost. How it really works, I will show you. For making the high and low method, we need to have the data, the set of data. So, for example, in circle organization, let's say for the utility cost, for the month of and the activity cost, the month of January. You have, for example, for January, you have 5,100 as utility cost and 75,000 as utility cost. Over here, you have maybe 5,000, 6,000, and it's going like this. And the highest value will be, I think it for July, I'm not going to December, it's too long. So let it 75, and here they can be many things, 6,000, and it's an estimation. So how we calculate from this, we can find, I say that we will find the variable cost and fixed cost. So we will use the equation to calculate the variable cost per unit over the you have the difference. You take the higher value and the lower value. You take the difference, it would be however, this is not the variable. This is calculate the variable cost. It would be 25,000 from the activity and 0.05 you. And from this amount, you can now calculate your fixed cost, which is 5,100 minus the amount we obtained for variable cost is you 1,725. Is it clear, or you need some more explanation for it? Oh? So what you don't really understand from it?
If you want anything, you can ask any question.
It's okay? Sure. So I would like to also mention that in the high and low method, we use only two data points, which is the high and low. Contrastly to high and low method, we have the least square regression methods. The least square regression method uses all the sets of data available. And the main purpose for this method is the relationship between, is to estimate the relationship between cost and activity in the prediction period. Now we say that in regression is a statistical procedure. We do use statistical techniques. Do anyone know about statistical techniques? So I said, you have like economic plausibility, which means economic reliability. We have slope of regression of line, and you have the goodness of fit, which means how well it fits a set of observation. Moreover, we can say that the objective is the general cost equation. From the equation, you have this objective least square regression, y is equal to a plus bx, which is y is a dependent variable, and x is a independent variable. This is the estimate of its cost.
As you can see, this method can be used only if the organization wants to estimate costs based on one independent variable. But sometimes the independent variable, denoted as y, can be affected by two or more independent variables. So in this case, we have to use the multiple regression method. Let's assume that this software organization wants to estimate utility cost based on two independent variables. The first independent variable can be number of customers served, which will include the cost of electricity for all facilities provided to customers in the shop. For example, light, air condition, etc. So I'll write it down here. Number of customers served. Then the second factor can be the dozens of shell produced, which will include the cost of electricity for shell production. So here, do you agree with me that a change in any of these factors will affect the utility cost? Do you agree with me that if there is a change in one of them, it will affect the utility cost? Okay. So now, to solve this problem, to be able to estimate the cost, we have two methods. The first one is the simple regression method, which was discussed by my friend Subodh earlier. A plus bx. Another method is the multiple regression method, which is a b1 x1 plus b2 x2. So here, if the analyst use the first method, it means that he or she takes into consideration only one independent variable. It means that we ignore this one, so that we assume that the change in this independent variable will not affect the utility cost. But we all know that it's wrong, because we have said that both will, if there is change in both, they will affect the utility cost. So we have to use this method, the multiple regression method, which involves all independent variables. So here the Y will represent the utility cost, the A fixed cost, such as the rent paid by the company, and X1 will represent the first independent variable, which is dozens of shares produced. X2 will represent the second independent variable, which is number of customers served. B1 will represent the regression estimate of the variable utilities cost per dozen of shares produced. And B2, the same thing, the regression estimate of the variable utilities cost per number of customers served. So here, this method will help us to make accurate predictions because, as I said in the beginning, this is the only method that takes into consideration all independent variables that affect the utility cost. Another method that can be used is the engineering method, which is completely different from the other method because I don't know if you remember that we said that to estimate costs, we used to make relationship between costs and activities based on historical data. But here, we don't use historical data anymore. We estimate costs by studying the process that results in cost and current. For example, to estimate, to be able to achieve a specific goal, the company can ask, or the analyst will ask himself, what should be needed to achieve this goal, and what should be the cost appropriated to those costs.
Okay. After discussing all the methods that can be used to estimate cost, it is obvious that many problems may arise in estimating cost. You know, many problems like missing of data. See, many problems. You have missing data, outliers, mismatched time periods, trade-offs in choosing the time period, allocating and discretionary costs, inflation. Each of these costs will be discussed and recommendation will be provided. Let's take the first one, missing data. As the name suggests, missing data. Who knows about missing data? Anyone can say missing data? It is? Yeah, exactly. Data is missing. So the source information, the source information in the company is missing. How can this happen? Let's say, for example, employees might misread some bills or forget to record some transactions. This can affect because data is mostly the most important thing in all estimation methods. Therefore, it's very important to recommend for this data. So what to do for this? Training can be provided to the employees training on how to record data on a daily basis, to record transactions, to not forget any transactions, and strict instructions can be provided as well from higher management with high rewards. Another problem is outliers. As I have mentioned before, if you remember the visual method, the visual fit method, outliers is the point that falls far away from the other points. Let's imagine that in 1 month the company has made like high sales, or it is unusual circumstances, bills might have been misread or something. So this can cause outliers, and the only solution for outliers is eliminate it from the data set.
Another problem is mismatched time.